Welcome back to the Dynasty Psych channel. Third video, second NFL mock, first round, plus Dynasty rookie mock, first round as well. I am so excited to bring you guys more content. So thankful for all the love and support on the first couple videos. I'm only going to be getting better, and we're just going to grow from here on out, continue to bring you quality content, and just let me know in the comments what types of videos you want to see, what you think of the first couple videos. I am ultimately a voice for you, for the people, and I want to give the people what they want. And so far, it looks like the mock drafts, of course, can't get enough of them, right? Let's get into this. Here on PFF, shout out PFF, all those guys that do wonderful work for all us football fans, college and NFL speaking. Gonna lean on their mock simulator for this draft. Maybe a little bit cleaner interface. Let me know what you guys prefer, mockdraftdatabase.com or PFF's. I think PFF is maybe a little bit cleaner. And the big boards are a little bit different, of course. And we're definitely going to be leaning on that on the big board. No joke. No surprise, as I'm not a NFL scout. But who I am is a pretty avid college football watcher, NFL watcher, football content consumer in general, and skill positions. As a fantasy player, we know we love and crave good quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end play, all the sexy stuff, right? But let's get into this. Look, at 1 with the Bears, I'm going to be changing it up quite a bit for the theme of this mock relative to my first mock I did the other week. And as is the case, I got to go and draft Drake May. Drake May to the Bears, 1 overall. I think there's a chance, guys. I think, believe Caleb Williams and his potential. I think Drake is closer than maybe people think, and I'm not just saying that as a result of prospect fatigue. I truly believe Drake May is very special in his own right, and really with the quarterback and receiver positions especially. There are almost 1A, 1B type options. We've heard of the top 1A guys at each of those respective positions, which we'll get into receiver very soon. But nonetheless, there are some special players, skill-wise, all across the board. And that's what's beautiful for our dynasty rosters and fantasy football in general. Even if you're in a redraft next year, you're going to be able to get some absolute studs. The Bears get, I think, a stud in Drake May at the first overall pick. Justin Fields, though, just led them to, as of recording this, a great win, upset over the Lions. I just think if the Bears have this pick, they're just too high of a chance that I think they clean house. New coach, new regime in general. Ryan Poles can kind of stamp his approval on the quarterback of his choice, so to speak, and just kind of go from there. Without spending too much time on the number 1 overall pick, if I had to maybe put a finger and put a guess as to the chances of this happening with Drake May going over Caleb, I think there's a maybe 20% chance. I really do. 1 in 5, in other words. And in the event that the Bears aren't making this pick, I think extrapolate that out. I feel like 1 in 5 NFL teams very well are going to potentially prefer Drake May. That's just my true thoughts at this moment. We're still going to have to watch a lot of tape, a lot to be determined still, guys. Look, we're only in 2023, December. But a lot's going to happen. We're getting the declares, and it's just a fun time. With getting into number 2, I got to then give the Patriots Caleb Williams. I think they're thrilled. Will the Patriots stay within this range? I'm not sure. But right now, I got to give them a quarterback because you know they're going to have to walk out with one of these top quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams deserves a lot of flowers. He is an incredible prospect in his own right. The Mahomes comparison sounded like a bit of a broken record. I don't think I have to spend too much time on Caleb. We know how good he is. At 3, again, I got to just go Marvin Harrison right here. He is special. Rumors of him maybe staying in college. I really hope that's not the case. I don't think it's going to be the case either. You got guys like Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson, their podcast talking about, and really everybody. Look, Marv, you just won the Blitnikoff by 1 vote, which is crazy. You've done everything you could in 3 years at OSU. No NIL is going to really ultimately come close to the guarantees that you're going to get on, for starters, this rookie first-year contract. And then immediately, once you get into year 4 or 5 of your pro career, then you're that much closer, a year effectively, at getting that second big 25-30 million probably by the time, honestly, that Marv reaches that at age 27. He's going to be or 25, 26, 27. He's going to be getting at least 30 mil a year guarantee contract a year earlier than if you were to go back to OSU. So I got to just give the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, an incredible weapon here. New wide receiver 1 down in Phoenix. Yeah, Glendale, Phoenix. The Cardinals, Arizona, they need him. And it would be such a cool fit, I think, for fantasy and just general draft purposes. At 4, with the Commanders, this is maybe a quarterback spot, but I don't think so. I think they're going to continue to trust Sam Howell for 1 more year. Potential, really, I think, likely coaching change. Another talk about regime change. Josh Harris just took over. So I definitely think I could see a clean house, but you can't go wrong with getting a franchise-type tackle. And I think Ole Fashanu is that. And so is Joe Alt. 5th to the Bears. You get your franchise protector for a Caleb Williams, or in this case, a Drake May. I just think the Bears, talk about premium positions. I could see this very well being a receiver spot, though. And as is the case, I have the Jets taking Malik Neighbors. That would be a pretty contentious pick. I feel like not sure how to feel about that just yet, but assuming Aaron Rodgers is at the helm and really just take some load off of Garrett Wilson, pause, but I think Malik is absolutely a top 10 talent. Could go, I think, as high as 5. I truly do believe that. And the Jets need more weapons, truly. If you're going to have struggles at quarterback, assuming maybe Zach Wilson, who knows how many games he starts next year. Look good today, though. This is the draft order, maybe not quite fully updated, but going off of how it stands, and there's still a lot that's going to change with the however many weeks we have left in the NFL season, but I got to give the Jets another playmaker, Malik Neighbors, really complement Garrett Wilson, and really just 2 guys that can absolutely win and create separation like really nobody else, quite honestly. The Giants, they're going back to the receiver well as well. Rome Odunze. He is a special player too. I think what's becoming clear, and I kind of touched on a little bit in my narrative notebook video that I just posted a couple days ago, second video on the channel. With this receiver class, there might be there's such talent at the top, maybe a bit of a tier of 3 now, or just at least maybe Marv by himself, and then I think Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. All 3 of them are guys that would be wide receiver 1s pretty comfortably in many draft classes. It's just they all happen to be in the same one this season, which is awesome if you have your first round picks. I think the Giants, of course, I had them taking Jaden Daniels my last mock, and I think that's very much a possibility. I'd love me some Jaden Daniels, but I think in this, just to change it up, could easily see them picking a receiver. Get your receiver 1 of the future. Tommy DeVito, another year with Tommy. We'll see, but jokes aside, for the Titans here. The Titans, I got to give them a tackle and really just kind of shore up the offensive line. Maybe Will Levis. I think it's tracking that Will Levis maybe gets another year to start, in my view. So I'm going to go and give them Talise Fuaga here. And when you think of the Titans, their identity, Derrick Henry, although who knows if King Henry is there next season, probably more likely than not he isn't. But I think with Fuaga, talk about maybe the Titans' identity, they want to run the ball. And look, Tyjae Spears, maybe the next in line. you get a complete road grader, a mauler like Talise Fuaga. I think an incredible pick. At ninth overall for the Saints. Tough, tough look for Derek Carr today. I got to go. I just look, this feels like a pick that could very well happen. Jaden Daniels staying in Louisiana, going to the Superdome. That would be such a cool landing spot, and I think very possible for Jaden Daniels. A lot of talk. Look, he won the Heisman. People talking about, oh my God, is it one of the worst Heismans? I don't think by any means it is. Jaden Daniels, look, he's a stud, dual threat guy, like a Lamar Jackson, and he's going to go high. We know quarterbacks get picked high. It's just the reality. I think the days of even Lamar getting picked at like 32, although we did see maybe Will Levis, speaking of the Titans that we just picked for, Will Levis was rumored to be a guy that teams tried to trade up right at the back end of the first to get that, potential fifth-year option. I just don't know how reasonable or realistic the days of, one or two guys at the top, and then just you can wait all the way into the late 20s, early 30s, last kind of quarter of round one. That's just not how it goes. We'll see who else goes off the board at quarterback in this mock, but I got to give the Saints Jaden Daniels. That would be such a beautiful fit. I think not even take fit out of it. You build around your quarterback, and Jaden Daniels, I think, offers you versatility with how talented he is, both through the air, throwing the deep ball on the ground. It just presents so much problems for opposing defenses, and I think, look, keeps the Saints as consistent NFC South favorites in my book. But at number 10, I got the Bucs drafting Bowers. Not a very sexy spot at all, I know. It's kind of tough. Just saw Cade Otton. He's been pretty good for his first year and some change in the league. Cade Otton, solid tight end. I'm just ultimately of the mindset that it doesn't really matter unless you had Gronk or unless it was the Vikings here with TJ Hawkinson already. I just don't know how you can pass up on a guy like Brock Bowers. And he just doesn't slip out of the top 10 in my view. Give Baker Mayfield or potentially Trask, who knows who maybe the Bucs quarterback is next year. Had it in my last mock, Bo Nix picked for them. I think they could very well be a Jaden Daniels landing spot. But right now, I'm giving him Brock Bowers, just changing it up. And with the Raiders, I think of their identity, their team, I'm just going to give him Johnny Newton. I think could very well be the first defensive player off the board, and it's crazy. Haven't even had a defensive player in the top 10. Maybe that's not too realistic, but I think it could happen. It's not totally crazy, in other words. Chargers. I think receiver, if I had to bet my money, I feel like they would pick a receiver, but changing this up, I think they had the J.C. Jackson field experiment. Got to go give him Nate Wiggins, I think, kind of cornerback one for a lot of people. And I'm no corner expert, defensive expert by any means, right? I just think that defense, a lot of help. Could use a lot of help. And that's corner is such a premium position. There's always one or two, multiple that are going to go high, top end of the first round for sure. And speaking of the Broncos, or I guess speaking of them now, it didn't really have any reference until this point, but with the Broncos, I'm just going to go and give them, I think, Leatu Latu. Give him some edge help. Just makes a lot of sense in my view. And speaking of potential defensive help, I think with the Bills, I'm more of the mindset, let's give them, the Bills are tough. They're a tough team to pick for. Let's go Dallas Turner. I changed my pickup from my original. Dallas Turner, I got to just give the Bills a, with everything going on with Von Miller and just in general, edge, corner, premium positions, you can't really have enough of them. With Seattle, I think this is a spot where we could see, I had him picking a Washington player in Braylon Trice last mock. I think now I'm going to go back to the Washington well and give him Troy Fountainu. He is already accepted to the Senior Bowl, so that's going to be very fun to see how he dominates potentially in Mobile. and he is just a fantastic potential interior guy. I think I mentioned my last mock, kind of the Skoronski type tackle in college, but very likely to potentially move inside at the next level, depending on measurables or team preferences, identity. We'll see. But I think nonetheless, he's an incredible offensive line prospect. And with the Rams, I've consistently been giving them defensive help. And I think, look, nothing really changes for this mock. I'm going to go give the Rams Cooper DeJean. Swiss Army knife, really versatile guy, defensive back. You really can't have enough of them. Sound like a broken record here, but guys, I'm no defensive expert per se. Just learning, and that's all we can do in things we are no means experts in. Just collecting information. And Cooper DeJean, he returns punts. He is just a really solid football player. And it's funny because the white corner stereotype, like a Jason Sehorn, it's almost like a unicorn. They just don't exist really. But Cooper DeJean is actually a legit defensive back. And speaking of defensive backs, do I go here and give the Bengals one? I don't think so. I think with the Bengals, I'm going to go and just give Joe Burrow, prioritize giving him some help, and I'll just go J.C. Latham here. Good prospect. You know, the Bengals like those Alabama tackles. Jonah Williams hasn't really worked out, though, but J.C. Latham could be very well, a lot better than Jonah Williams, to be frank. The Steelers. I think with the Steelers, I'm going to go Chop Robinson. Stays there in kind of PA. He maybe isn't the most productive player. Stats, he's dealt with some injuries. The stat sheet maybe isn't going to look as crazy as some other defensive line prospects, but Chop Robinson, you know, these freak athletes, premium positions, just early declare as well. Mike Tomlin loves his edge and offensive tackles on the boundaries. I think I got to give Chop Robinson to the Steelers here. At 19, with the Falcons, this is a very interesting spot. Tough loss. I think ultimately Desmond Ridder is just not the guy. I don't think that's a hot take at all. No offense to you, Desmond, but I'm going to go and give him Bo Nix. A little bit controversial. I know there's a lot of not too favorable opinion on Bo by a lot of people. And look, I wasn't all that impressed the other week didn't light the world on fire in the Pac-12 championship game. Came up just short, though. Really just wish you saw him have a chance. Really tough, but I think he's a guy within his system that he's been in at Oregon. Maybe not the most air yards, right? Air yards per attempt, or the most push the ball downfield, consistent, almost air raid, so to speak. Not as flashy as a Jaden Daniels by any stretch, but he can get the job done, and I think the Falcons absolutely are going to be in the market for a quarterback, and I just view Bo Nix as QB4. And I think the Senior Bowl, or I'm not sure if that yet is confirmed, but I think Bo Nix is just going to have a chance to really rise in the pre-draft process, and really good athlete too. That cannot be understated. Is he a first-round pick, guys? Let me know. Let me know. Let me get a Bo Nix pulse in the comments. But Packers, Green Bay, you're going to give him Jared Verse. I think, look, they don't draft offense really. So, again, just drafted Van Ness last year, and he's, I think, shown some flashes and production this season. But Jared Verse, I think, is a monster. Could have been the pick maybe last year for the Packers over Van Ness, but goes back to school with Florida State. Tough pill to swallow as Noles fans without being left out of the playoff, but Jared Verse, I think he's a stud and has to be a top 20 pick. Could not leave him out of this top 20. The Vikings. Now, I think the Vikings stay drafting defense, and I think I got to give him Kool-Aid McKinstry here. Potentially Terrion Arnold. I could see Terrion Arnold. He's been getting a lot of love in media circles and industry draft uh, pundits. Potentially Terrion Arnold, first Bama DB. I'm gonna look forward to watching a lot of defensive tape because that's my really, if anything, my weakest point is scouting defense. I think with Kool-Aid, he's had such a pedigree almost, if you will, trending as this top 24 draft prospect for a couple years now. And I think, look, he goes in the first round. I don't think he's going to go out of the first round by any means, but look, we'll be able to see on the biggest stage between him and Arnold in the CFP. That should be an incredible game against Michigan for sure. But with the Cardinals here, their second pick, I got to go and I just got to give them Amarius Mims. Really solid tackle, athletic, a freak of nature. Just tackle and receiver. I think that Kyler Murray has to be the guy, I think. You protect him, you give him weapons. That's got to be the priority. Drafted Paris Johnson Jr. last season. You just can't draft enough line guys. Jonathan Gannon came from my Eagles. You just cannot draft enough offensive and defensive line talent, point blank. The Colts now, we finally have a return to the receiver. Well, I got to give him Keon Coleman. I think Keon Coleman is kind of getting a little bit of downward perception, a little bit of a downward trajectory in terms of how favorably he's viewed by people. Not in maybe the top three, if you will, the top three upper echelon of this class at the receiver position. It's interesting because early in the season, more of like the highlight reel plays or the frequency of it, and just seeing obviously Florida State operate at such a high level. I know Dane Brugler for a while, and I don't know if I don't think he's changed actually his ranking, but it was almost like, oh, Keon Coleman, just wide receiver 2, closed, open, shut, just call it. Nothing really going to change. But I think, look, Keon Coleman, he's I think a much better bet than a Quentin Johnston. Really everything I think you wanted in Quentin Johnston and maybe then some. Not the purest separator. Creating space as these other guys. Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Marvin Harrison for his size, especially. But Keon Coleman, what he can do is, I think, absolutely be on the receiving end of some Anthony Richardson bombs. Just go up and get it. Just kind of box guys out. I feel like with Keon Coleman, there's maybe some D-Hop. I don't know if that's just crazy out of left field comp, guys. Let me know. But I just think of a guy, speaking of the Texans drafting right now, I just see a guy that can really just win jump balls for you. Not everybody is going to be so shifty like a Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, just so nimbly creating 5 yards of space every time. And again, in the NFL, quarterbacks can throw guys open anyway, which I think Anthony Richardson absolutely can. It sucks how he went down injured and was out for the year early into the season, but I think Keon Coleman, you got to get AR, a weapon, and Keon Coleman is quite a guy to get at pick 23 here. Houston, look, I can't stop drafting Emeka Egbuka for them. We saw CJ Stroud throw countless touchdowns to him in his last year in 2022 with the Buckeyes, and I just think, look, it's tough. Tank Dell, you lost. Nico Collins kind of always dealing with injuries. Well, get you a guy in Emeka Egbuka that's really going to just fit into the offense, really give you everything, and then some. I think that you would have wanted it in like Robert Woods, for example. But I think he's going to be a lot better potentially than Robert Woods was at the NFL level. No shade against Robert Woods. He's been a very solid, I think, underrated guy. But with Emeka Egbuka, he's got some size, he's got some athleticism, he's had definitely a down year, but I think the reality is he is a top receiver prospect, and it's almost like JSN in ways with how he's had such a strong kind of sophomore campaign and then maybe loses some steam for some reasons or another in his junior draft eligible year. But I think Emeka Egbuka, he's got to be a first round pick. I just think he has to be. He's just a great route runner, really good talent at the position, plug and play type guy, right? So Chiefs, this is where it gets pretty spicy, pretty beautiful here. I gotta give Pat Mahomes a weapon, right? Gotta do it. And for me, it's gotta be Xavier Worthy. Just an incredible option, I feel, and almost mentioned him before, and I'm not at all trying to draw like for like comparison to Tyreek Hill, but he is pure speed. He has gotten, I think, a lot more short-handed. He did deal with injuries in his sophomore campaign, in which he saw such a high drop rate that you don't want to see, but Xavier Worthy, just a deep play, a threat anytime he's on the field, really just be a focal point of the offense, and just something that the Chiefs are begging for, I think. Rashee Rice, pretty solid, looks good. Looks like a potential piece. But you need, look, with Kelsey aging, how many years does he have left? You got to get Pat Mahomes weapons, and I think Xavier Worthy, if he's there, I think for the Chiefs, I think you got to run the card in just for how much of from a need standpoint and just what he can offer. And the quarterback, the guy that's going to be thrown to him, it's just just make beautiful music with that Chiefs offense. I know Andy Reid would find ways to utilize him quite a bit. And enough Xavier Worthy talk. The Jags, who are they going to pick? I think Doug Peterson, former Eagle coach, former Andy Reid disciple, right? Look, I got to go and I got to give them Graham Barton, guy that, again, looks like kind of like Troy Fautanu. Again, let me know, guys. I got to look up his Fautanu's name pronunciation, probably on Washington's website, but excuse me. I got to go and give the Jags offensive line help, and I think Barton's a guy, again, people are saying, I guess my point being, like Troy Fautanu, guy that plays tackle, but at the next level, likely to maybe kick inside, is what I'm hearing, or what I'm seeing on the X sphere, on Twitter, across all social media. I'm just seeing really good offensive line guy. And there definitely are a lot of talents in this class, just maybe not a tackle. But Graham Barton, I think, solid pick for the Jags in this scenario. Who do the Cowboys get? Do the Cowboys get a receiver like I did mock them last mock? Not quite. I think with the Cowboys here, I actually had him getting Chop Robinson in my initial run through here, but I think I gotta stick with defense here. Let's go Terrion Arnold. I think Terrion Arnold's a good spot. They have, look, DaRon Bland. Cowboys have had some really good D-back play, but I think premium position, you just don't always draft for need. You draft pure talents, and I think Terrion Arnold, look, it's going to be, again, really interesting to see both him and Kool-Aid in the CFP against some good Michigan talent. We'll see. But I think Terrion Arnold, look, people hold him in quite high esteem here. And as is the case for another guy here in the form of Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. Really intriguing guy. Again, I got to watch a lot of tape on these guys still, but he's been a pretty consistent riser. Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. Just at this point, it would just be fun. A guy out of Toledo. Let's get a Toledo first round pick, right? I think the Lions consistently, look, they missed on Jeff Okudah, but that's obviously there's change at that position for a long time now. I mean, Okuda, meaning Okuda, excuse me. Okuda's been off the team for a while, a good bit now. But Okuda, you've had, oh my God, the Penn State corner that looked pretty good, but kind of fizzled off. Oh my God, his name. Let me know who I'm thinking of. The Penn State corner that the Lions had, but then he's kind of dropped. The Lions, look, you can't have defensive back. You got to get a potential lockdown guy like Quinyon Mitchell. And yeah, the Lions, are they going to be a top seed in the NFC? I don't know. I'm not sure. Dan Quinn, you love the culture that the Lions have. We'll see. Let me know who you guys think might come out of the NFC. The 49ers, I think the 49ers, they go and get some offensive line help, would be my guess. And I think I got to go give them, we'll go Patrick Paul. We'll go Patrick Paul to the Niners. Pass pro specialist, not maybe the 49ers identity, but I think potential another Senior Bowl guy. I think he could, Senior Bowl tackles, offensive line in general, those isolated offensive, defensive line drills, there's going to be some natural winners, and could very well be Patrick Paul. Could be another guy I'm going to discuss very soon. But Ravens, I think, look, they take the last skill position of this mock, and they end up opting for Brian Thomas Jr. I think Brian Thomas Jr., I really think we do see two LSU receivers, Neighbors and Thomas Jr. Thomas Jr., a lot of production from him in his own right, really burst onto the scene, and he is an athletic specimen, a freak. Talked about in my Narrative Notebook Receiver Edition video. He and a handful of guys, I had Xavier Legette to the Ravens last mock. There are freaks athletically at the receiver position who could really separate themselves in the pre-draft, in the combine in particular, with 40 scores, verts, broad jumps, even obviously the gauntlet, the routes. We'll see, everybody will do that, or we'll see that. But the real shock factor, the athletic testing could be through the roof. It's going to be unbelievable. I'm just so excited to see as we get closer to March in the combine. But last two picks of the first round here, I got to go give the Dolphins, where is he? Jordan Morgan here. Another, I think, good tackle prospect, guy like Patrick Paul, who could very well rise as a result of the Senior Bowl. Really interested to see, get into this pre-draft process, guys. And last but not least, go Birds, my Eagles here. I got to give them some D-back help. We just saw how he got exposed by the Niners. I'm going to go with Kamari Laster here. We have Drake May, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison. We got Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze. So 3 receivers go in the top 7 picks. I think it could happen. I think it could easily be 3 in the top 10, as we have 3 quarterbacks with Jaden Daniels, 3 QBs in the top 10, 3 receivers in the top 10, a tight end in the top 10. A lot different landing spots than my first mock, and all in all, maybe not quite as sexy or as attractive from a landing spot perspective, but we take a bit of a hiatus in skill positions. Bo Nix drafted 19th to the Falcons. Then we got Keon Coleman and Emeka Egbuka going 23-24 back-to-back AFC South teams and young promising quarterbacks to throw to them. And then we wrap up Xavier Worthy, the landing spot of the draft. I feel like not pretty hot take to say. Pretty easy, I think, to say that. And then rounding out Brian Thomas Jr. Back to the drawing board. Dynasty Superflex 12-team, start 10, PPR, tight end premium format. Same as what we've been going off before. Are we going to have the same 101 in Caleb Williams as we did last mock, albeit he was picked first overall to the Bears in that mock? We changed it to the Drake May. No, we're not. We're sticking with Caleb. I think The upside is just so high. The gunslinging mentality, ability to extend plays, really the big play potential, I think is just too much to pass on. I'm not that worried about the Patriots. It is what it is. A team is going to naturally be pretty ugly, pretty bad to be able to land a top quarterback near the top of the draft. Nothing new. I think we're going to likely see a new regime. That's the theme. A lot of new regimes are impending. There's so much turnover every year to year. And with coaching change, potential offensive guy comes in or defensive guy and brings a good offensive mind with him. It really can't get worse. I think Kraft is looking to make a move. It can't be worse than how ugly it is in New England this season and why they're in the position they are. So it can only get better. And I think Caleb Williams is the guy that's going to make that better. And for the Patriots in New England, up in Foxborough, and for your dynasty teams, quite honestly. Number 2, Marv make an appearance? Not quite. I'm still going Drake 102. I just believe in him and Caleb, super flex. I gotta have those two guys at the top of my draft board. They are franchise changing players, really good prospects, and not statues by any means. Can offer some rushing upside. Nothing crazy, but we're drafting them for their passing ability to throw the ball to all levels of the field, touch, accuracy, big play potential. I think Drake May is going to be in basically this. He is in the same tier as Caleb, in my view, as a prospect. And they have to go 1-2 in my book. There's a lot of talk. Do we draft Marvin Harrison just for the sure thing at 1 or 2? Dynasty, in my book, it's not about sure things. It's about taking risks. And in a super flex league, you can't have enough quarterbacks. If you're picking near the top, you're likely in the same position as the Bears, or I guess really more the Panthers / the Patriots, more specifically in this draft. You need a quarterback. You need somebody to change your team. And I think these two guys are going to do so. Marvin Harrison Jr., though, is very much in that top tier, I think, with them. He is a bona fide stud, unbelievable potential. Rumors that he might go back to school. I just talked about it in the mock draft I just did. I really don't think he's going to. Cross our fingers. Don't tell me I jinxed. But look, with Maserati Marv, the guy is unbelievable. He's so special. With Kyler Murray too. Really almost solidifying, I feel like, Marv to the Cardinals in the top 3 to 4 picks. It's just kind of trending that way. If either at number 2 or number 3 potentially. I just think it's going to make too much sense for the Cardinals to draft him. Your number 1 bona fide stud, the AJ Green comps, the Julio Jones comps. He is incredible. And he's immediately, I think, wide receiver 3. Right behind Chase Jefferson. Point blank. Tell me if you guys agree. But 104. I got to go Jaden Daniels. To the Saints, pretty attractive landing spot. Already some weapons there. Not a poverty franchise by any means. But irrespective of that, the theme is I believe in the player. I believe in the prospect. Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner, well-deserved. For fantasy football, he has the most upside. And I think maybe part of me keeping him at 104 right now, I think he could go up easily into the top 3, maybe even a top 2 pick, guys. I'm truly sincere with that. Look, AR rapidly rose up boards in your rookie drafts in your first round. Jaden Daniels, we're talking about guys that have fantasy upside. We're playing a fantasy football game. It's not about who looks the prettiest, throwing the football, the best game manager, the best person that puts his team in positions to win. It's about stats. And the numbers that Jaden Daniels, he rushed for over 1,000 yards, the numbers that he could put on the ground, it's coupled with obviously his big play potential, his deep ball accuracy. He he could just break. His ceiling has to be the high. It's the highest, simply the highest of anybody in this class. So, if that with that being said, look, I'm kind of contradicting myself. Not really trying to play it safe, right? The context though is important of your team. Hence, if you're in a bad spot, I think you look. You're there's no consolation prize here with these quarterbacks. I'm just going through in my own head. I think Jane Daniels, he 104. I think he can only go higher. I really do. He is going to score fantasy points. So are the other quarterbacks and the other three guys that got drafted ahead of him. But let me know. Let me know where you have Jane Daniels. It's just this is the most intriguing player I think easily in this whole draft class. He has unbelievable potential. Unbelievable potential. More refined than Anthony Richardson was. Obviously, a lot more seasoned. Has the experience. I think those are all good things. And I guess it's funny, come to think of it, the only real knock is that, like Anthony Richardson, maybe he doesn't know how to quite protect himself. So maybe there's a little bit more injury risk because of how daring his style of play is relatively to the other two quarterbacks. But nonetheless, guys, that's enough of me yapping about Jaden Daniels. We still got 8 other picks to make. And at the 105 position, I got to go with Malik Neighbors. To the Jets, already some occupied room by Garrett Wilson, but that's it. And if you have Aaron Rodgers, especially, which he's pretty much committed to the franchise, he's going to, if it's looking like probably not this season, or who knows, maybe if it is this season, but next season, you have Aaron Rodgers toting the rock. He can absolutely support both Garrett Wilson and Malik Neighbors, in my view. Malik Neighbors, a special, special player in his own right. The DJ Moore comparisons, he is a monster. He is a monster. And he's got to be, I think, safely a top 6 pick in your rookie drafts. I just don't know. I don't really see his ceiling going up too higher relative to the guys in front of him because of the quarterbacks, because of Marvin Harrison Jr. But man, if you're at this 105, you are loving life right now. 106, the same holds true. You're loving life because you get to have Brock Bowers. Picked 10th to the Bucks. Yes, they have Cade Otton, but Brock Bowers is going to be an immediate impact guy for whatever team drafts him. I've seen the kind of like George Kittle comps. He's just, I think, more athletic. He's a complete guy, right? More than Kyle Pitts was in terms of he can block, but he's really shifty. He's, I think, sneaky, underrated as an athlete. He is a yards after the catch beast. You get him on a shallow crosser, a couple yards, not even 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Well, he's then up and away, quick 35-yard gain, and he's going to be featured in the red zone. He's just a versatile chess piece, and we talk about tight end landscape. It's a god ugly scene, right? But it's begging for Brock Bowers to basically emerge immediately, step in as tight end 1 in Dynasty. It's not a hot take at all. Brock Bowers, he's a special, special talent. And there are several of them in this class, which is incredible. It's incredible. I sound like a broken record. I'm not just hyping this class up, I promise you. There are incredible options here. And even at 107 with Rome Odunze, gets picked 7th overall in the mock to the Giants. Not the sexiest landing spot, right? But he immediately steps in as the alpha of that offense. And I think Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets, who knows? He will be able to be supported by whoever's throwing it to him. He can go up and get the ball. If he's not dealing with the best quarterback play, just put it in Rome's vicinity and he will catch it. He'll catch it. Great prospect, great receiver, would have been receiver 1 last season. Gets picked top 10 in the NFL draft in this scenario, and he's the 107 in your rookie mock. It's crazy. It is crazy. If this doesn't speak to it, I don't know what does in terms of the talent, the depth of this class. 108. We're going Xavier Worthy, Pat Mahomes' new weapon. He is a speed demon. Really you think of fits. He's such a great fit for Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. A lot's been missing with Tyreek gone, and you're just in dire need of a guy to take the top off of defense. Real speed threat, but also has some polish too. He's not really a one trick pony. He's a good, relatively developed receiver who's not just going to be a run downfield and just he's not limited as a prospect. He is a good receiver, and I'm just really excited to see him and his teammate A.D. Mitchell, really that Texas offense in the CFP, guys. Let me know the prospect you're most excited to watching out of the CFP, Bama, Texas, Michigan, Washington. There are incredible. It's going to be so fun to watch, and Xavier Worthy is just arguably one of the most fun players to watch easily because of obviously the nature of his game. But 109, I got to go. Here's where Bo Nix is. He goes 19th overall in the NFL draft. So it's still top 20 pick, a first round quarterback, right? He went higher. He went in the top 5 of the previous mock we did. But I just don't know. I still feel like he's going to go in the first round, and I like him as a prospect. I do. I just don't know if I'm really seeing the fervor among what the people that are in the know, like your Dane Bruglers, Mel Kipers, the guys that do it for a living. Not really seeing, although I did see shout out to Mike Renner. He actually did have Bo Nix as a top 10 guy in his first mock. It's really up in the air, I guess. I think he does go in the first. We'll see. Who do you guys have over him? Or let's just ignore that. Penix or Bo Nix? Let me know your guys' preference in the comments. I just don't know with Penix if he doesn't seem to have as much favor in terms of the NFL circle or what people are reporting, but relatively speaking, look, can Penix go and light the world on fire and work his way into the first round? Absolutely. It's just injury history. It's a really intriguing. It's a little bit of a conundrum with these outside of the top 3 quarterbacks in my book. But 110, I got to go with Emeka Egbuka. Again, he goes to the Texans in this mock. I just think it makes too much sense for the Texans. They're dealing with obviously injuries at the position. In terms of our rookie mock, from a dynasty perspective, Emeka Egbuka is going to have opportunity. He has the chemistry already with the quarterback. I could see in this scenario, I mean, he has a case to go a couple picks higher, honestly. I feel like Emeka Egbuka, he's kind of had a bit of a downward perception, not as highly thought of because of a down year, but it's really, I don't think, it's not his fault necessarily. But really interested to see. Hope he declares. But there's always some speculation. Who knows? 111, I got to go Keon Coleman to the Colts. AR's new weapon. I'm just Keon, I think he's a stud. I do. Going to the Colts, though, with Steichen, they ideally in a perfect world, they want to be a run first team. With Steichen, well, not necessarily even with him, with just who it's kind of crowded. I am under the assumption that they do re-sign Pittman and look at the emergence of Josh Downs. Although Pittman, maybe they don't re-sign him, but I feel like they have to re-sign him. So I just don't know. Look, with Anthony Richardson, he's looked good. It's just a little bit with the other landing spots, the capital that the other guys at the receiver position got. I'm just not comfortable putting Keon Coleman ahead of him just yet. Look, we'll see what the combine, as I alluded to in my narrative notebook of the receiver position. The combine will be a huge kind of hot button timeline, maybe a bit of a changing point in terms of the narrative, the opinion, where these guys might go or how highly they're thought of. But really good athlete, as is Brian Thomas. To round out the first round of this rookie mock, to the Ravens to pair up with Zay Flowers, with Lamar. There's a case with Thomas, Coleman. You could kind of, I feel like, go either or. These are still, guys, first round receivers. All first rounders. First round capital. Does it truly matter? Or should it be the sole definer? That's an argument in and of itself, but because we've seen guys get picked. Look at Puka Nacua. Look at Josh Downs, like I just said. Look at a handful of guys. Tank Dell. A first round draft capital is not necessarily a requirement, but I feel like it's just going to be the natural kind of separator within the wide receiver class this year. We'll see how good the landing spots are, though, in round 2. Let me know how much you guys want to see round 2 mock. Maybe I do round 2 mock for my next video. But look, storylines ultimately for this mock. The QB trio goes early. Nick slides a little bit, like I alluded to. Just not so clear, I would say, QB after QB3. People are even debating QB. Is QB3 all that certain? I think with Daniels, it really is in my book. And he's been rising so quick into the top 10. And with the nature of the position, you look at the Giants, you look at the Bucks, you look at the Saints, there's just somebody, or someone, even teams outside, like the Falcons, somebody's got to trade up or just stand pat and snag him in the top 10. What's another storyline? Well, like I just referred, the exceptional receiver class, 7 go in this top 12 of first round rookie mock. There are going to be 6 to 8 guys. I feel like that's going to be the range for receivers, and they're naturally going to they're going to be going early in your rookie draft. People like receivers. Running backs, just not a lot in this class. Really not good options. Rocket Sanders in the portal. Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL. It's really tough. Quarterbacks, there's only going to be so many that go in the first. I would say a max of about 4. And with tight end, there's only ever one. The prodigal son or prospect, I don't know where I'm going with this. Brock Bowers is the only tight end that's going to go. So receivers are going to go early in your first round rookie draft and your rookie draft as a whole. I mean, that's fair to say. Interesting about with this mock scenario, receivers, you had the trio that went in the early 3 in the top 7 with Marv, Neighbors, Odunze. But then there was a bit of a hiatus with how the mock played out. It wasn't till the back end of round 1 where then 4 went. I could kind of see that playing out in real life. There's guys that are kind of separating themselves in the form of those 3 I just mentioned. And then naturally there might just be a run on defensive players. Your Dallas Turners, Latus, your Nate Wiggins, your premium edge, defensive line, defensive back positions might very well just go kind of in the middle of the draft. And then people are going to be like, okay, I got to get into the receiver run here. Somebody's going to start it like we just saw last draft. But the point being, there are several guys that are going to go high in the first round. And they're going to go high. They're going to go often. But landing spots, a little bit murky. But that's not really anything new to us Dynasty players. Look at the top. People are talking about, the Patriots, oh no. Look at, regardless of what happens with the Patriots, look, I think even if they have Bill Belichick, but I feel like the signs are very much pointing to potentially new regime. Robert Kraft even kind of hinting at as much, but look at what happened with Stroud. CJ Stroud, everyone's like, oh my God, or the Texans, how they were perceived as a landing spot. Guys, the players are the really saviors of the franchise, or the impact to potentially completely transform franchises, to rewrite the narrative of their team that did not have them in the lead up and the horrible season that got them in the position to draft these high caliber talents. So don't be discouraged by weird landing spots at the quarterback position. Example just being with Stroud and the Texans. Receiver. Oh, I don't know about some of these receiver landing spots. Look at Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave of the past. These guys are, again, not to be a broken record, a talent will naturally shine whatever team drafts him. That's what in other words, these guys are going to be able to transcend bad landing spots. It's not going to be the end all be all and dictate where somebody should get picked, or your potential trepidation toward, or your overall opinion and maybe preventing you from picking a guy based on the landing spot. These are talented players, and don't overlook, or overthink rather. Oh no, because of Malik Neighbors went to the Jets. Oh, let me think of Keon Coleman, or let me think of Xavier Worthy, or just because of the landing spot game. Look at Quentin Johnston. Look at an example of, you can play devil's advocate, right? But in the end, you make the call. All I can do is offer perspective and insight. And on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hey, we're on the road to 50 subs. 50 subs by 2024. If you guys are so inclined, are so frisky, hell, subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. But again, I can't emphasize enough how thankful I am for all the support on these first couple videos, guys. We're only going to be getting better. Let me know what types of videos you want to see. Thoughts on the NFL mock, picks 1 to 32, the first round. And subsequently, well, what do you guys think about this Dynasty rookie mock consequentially? Or subsequently. Words, English is hard, but it's not so hard to click the like button or subscribe. Guys, enough of me. Peace. Have a great week.